Okay, quick thing. Do this with me. Close your eyes for 1 second, then open them. Done? Cool. In that 1 second, your brain probably tuned most of the world out. A blink, some background noise you ignored, nothing urgent. But for a lot of human history, your ancestors couldn't afford to tune things out the way you just did. Dangerous encounters were more immediate and a lot more common than they are for most of us today. So their brains got really good at spotting possible threats fast. Here's the fun part. That same threat spotting system is still in your head right now. You just don't need it nearly as often, and it's quietly behind a bunch of everyday stuff, like why you get stressed over a text message, why you're wide awake at 3 a.m., or why one rude comment online can get under your skin. So let's talk about this system your brain came with, what it's actually for, and why it sometimes goes off at the wrong moments. Stick with me. This one's genuinely fun. All right, let's meet the part of the brain behind a lot of this. Good news, it's real, it has a name, and you've got two of them. Tucked deep in your brain are two little almond-shaped clusters called the amygdala. A handy way to picture it? Think of it as part of your brain's alarm system. One of its jobs is to help flag things that might be a threat, quickly, often before you've fully thought it through. And it can be fast, faster than you'd guess. Roughly, it works like this. When something happens, a noise, a movement, your brain processes it along more than one route. Some of that processing is slower and more thoughtful. The "let me actually figure out what that was" part. But some of it is faster and rougher, and it can kick off a reaction before the slower, conscious part has caught up. We're talking tens of milliseconds. Sometimes your body starts reacting before you consciously realize what you even saw. You've definitely felt this. You're walking, you see something on the ground, you jump back, and a second later you go, "Oh, it's a stick." It's literally a stick. Or you spot a person standing in your room at night, your heart jumps, and it's a hoodie on a chair. That's not you being a scaredy cat. That's your alarm system doing what it's built for. Flag it first, double check after. Better to jump at a stick than to miss a snake, right? And when your brain does treat something as a real threat, it sets off a stress response. Adrenaline goes up, your heart speeds up, your senses sharpen, your body gets ready to move, fight, run, or freeze. For most of us, that surge rises and then settles fairly quickly. Now here's the interesting bit. Think about the most on edge you've ever felt. Like walking home alone in the dark after a weird noise. Senses turned up. Every little sound feels louder. Every shadow gets a second look. For our ancestors, that kind of alertness probably came up a lot more often than it does for us. They just couldn't relax the way we usually can. Which brings up a fair question. Why would our brains lean toward being jumpy in the first place? We love to picture early humans as tough caveman hunters, top of the food chain, spear in hand, kings of the savannah. And sometimes, sure. But that's not the whole story. For a lot of our history, we were also prey. Scientists even have a name for this side of it, man the hunted. Because we weren't only the ones doing the hunting. Plenty of the time, something was hunting us. Quick pause. If you've made it this far, your brain has officially decided I'm safe to listen to. I'll take that as a win. So real quick, if you're enjoying this, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. We've got a whole series coming on the weird stuff your brain does that you never stop to think about. And honestly, the next ones are even better. Also, in about 30 seconds, I'm going to show you a real skull that points to something actually hunting us. It's kind of wild. You good? Cool, let's keep going. So check this out. One of the most famous fossils we've ever found is the skull of a young child who lived around 2 million years ago. For a long time, people assumed some big cat got them. But when researchers looked closely at the marks, many concluded it was actually a large bird of prey, an eagle, that took the child. And there's another well-known skull with 2 clean little holes in it. When researchers compared those holes to the lower fangs of a fossil leopard, they lined up almost perfectly. A strong clue about what happened. So leopards, big hyenas, crocodiles, snakes, even large birds were all real dangers. We definitely weren't sitting safely at the top of the food chain. And here's the part that shaped us. When predators are a real and recurring danger, the people who tended to notice warning signs and react quickly had a better shot at surviving and at having kids who survived too. Over many generations, that gently nudged us toward brains that take possible threats seriously. Not brains stuck in constant panic, just brains that would rather sound a false alarm than miss a real one. So in a way, you come from a long line of people who were pretty good at paying attention. That instinct is part of what got passed down to you. Okay, but here's a puzzle. Staying alert takes energy. So why would evolution keep our threat detection leaning sensitive instead of just dialing it way down? Honestly, the clearest example is sitting on your kitchen ceiling. Your smoke detector, it goes off every time you make toast. Annoying, right? So why not just make it less sensitive? Because look at the trade-off. A false alarm costs you maybe 30 seconds of waving a towel around, but missing one real fire could cost you the whole house. So it actually makes sense to put up with a bunch of annoying false alarms, as long as you never miss the one that really matters. A lot of our threat responses seem to run on similar logic. Some researchers call it the smoke detector principle. If reacting to a false alarm is cheap, but missing a real danger is catastrophic, then a system that leans toward caution tends to win out over time. And you can see that same tilt in everyday life. Our brains often hang on to the negative stuff more than the positive. That's the rough idea behind what psychologists call the negativity bias. Be honest, you can probably still cringe at something you said years ago, even though you've forgotten plenty of nice compliments. Slip-ups and losses tend to stick with us more than wins do. Likely because for our ancestors, ignoring a danger was a lot more costly than missing out on a small reward. So a lot of what can feel like over-worrying is really just an old, cautious system doing roughly what it evolved to do. And here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Evolution tends not to throw old systems away. It mostly builds new things on top. So a lot of that old threat detection wiring is still part of how our brains work today. The catch is that the world changed really fast, way faster than our biology. We went from a world of mostly physical dangers to a world of inboxes and group chats in almost no time. And some of our stress systems are still partly tuned for the old one. Now, to be clear, your brain absolutely knows that a rude email is not a leopard. You're not actually confusing the two. But here's the thing, a social or modern stress, like a tense message or feeling left out, can still switch on some of the same stress responses that once helped people deal with physical danger. Same kind of adrenaline, same racing heart. Except now, there's usually nothing to run from and nothing to fight. A text someone left unread, walking into a room full of strangers, scrolling endless bad news your brain reacts to like it's all about you. Lying awake at 3 a.m. with your heart going for no clear reason. That's not your mind being broken. It's an old, useful system reacting in a world it wasn't really designed for. Researchers sometimes call this an evolutionary mismatch. Old wiring meeting new problems. Take feeling left out. For most of human history, being part of a group was closely tied to safety and survival. So our brains learn to treat social connection as a big deal. That's part of why a quiet group chat, or feeling excluded, can sting more than it logically should. Your brain is treating belonging as something that really matters, because for a very long time, it genuinely did. So let's go back to that little jump you do when something startles you. That quick flash of, whoa, what was that? That reaction comes from systems that for a very long time helped keep humans alive through real dangers and a lot of uncertain nights. In a way, it's been quietly looking out for you, the same way it looked out for the people you came from. So the takeaway isn't that your brain is broken. It's more that some of it is tuned for a world that was riskier than the one most of us live in now. It leans toward caution, and most of the time, that's just it doing its job. And honestly, knowing that helps. Next time your heart's racing over a text, or you can't sleep, or some small thing feels huge, you can catch it. You can go, I think I know what this is. It's not weakness, and it's not a malfunction. It's an old cautious system reacting to a modern world. You can't really switch it off, but you can learn to notice it and remind yourself, there's probably no leopard here. You're not broken. A lot of you is just running on older settings in a much newer world.